What is up, Waffle Gang? My name is Mark, and today we're covering some r/am I the butthole. If you'd like to skip that initial waffle, timestamps are in the description and along the timeline below, but if you are new here, please consider hitting that like, that subscribe, and maybe that notification bell too. A huge thank you to each and every one of you for being here today, and a massive thank you to our new supporter, Armin, I think. Thank you so much, and let me know what you guys think of the new intro. Do you like it? Do you think it's too much? Let me know in the comments below. And with that being said, let's get in to today's stories. Much love, guys. Our first story comes from a throwaway account. Am I the arsehole for revoking my niece's college fund after she tried to steal my dog? I have a college fund set up for my 16-year-old niece, which currently has about 60k in it. My sister, her mum, was visiting the house yesterday with my niece. At one point I was feeding Jupiter, who is my dog. My niece started interrogating me when she saw the bag of dog food and noticed that it was vegan. I do in fact feed him vegan dog food with a full blessing of the veterinarian, and under the supervision of the veterinary nutritionist. My sister then joined in this interrogation, so I just asked them both to leave. I went upstairs while they were gathering their things. I looked out the window and noticed they grabbed Jupiter and were about to drive off with him. I immediately dashed downstairs out the door, stopping them in time before they went off. I managed to get Jupiter back and they were both screaming at me how I don't deserve him. As a result of this incident, I decided to revoke my niece's college fund, informing them of this fact this morning. I received a very long and unhinged barrage of text from my sister, telling me that she's going to sue me for all the money in the college fund, despite the fact there was never any contract. God man, this is giving me serious entitled parents vibes on this one. You know, like you said, you didn't have a contract, so yeah, they're definitely not entitled to this at all. And if they're going to act like arseholes, then, you know, they get treated like it. And what goes through someone's head before they make that decision, before they think, yes, that's a great idea. Let's just steal the dog and run out the door. We can get away with this. I mean, she must know where they live. It must be a totally random idea that just clicks. But let's have a look at the comments to see what they say. Mrs. Hannah says, not the arsehole, it's your money. Unless you had it in her name, then that's different. But otherwise, it's your money and you can do what you want. Someone tried to steal your pet. Family or not, that's unacceptable. Black Star Blue says, not the arsehole, put the money in your own retirement fund or something. They had absolutely no right to try to take your dog. I do have thoughts about feeding carnivore and omnivore pets vegetarian and vegan diets, but time and place, and if the vets like it, I love it. Black says, not the arsehole, your sister and her daughter have completely lost the plot. That said, obligatory at feeding carnivorous animals a vegan diet, but that's besides the point, and I think a lot of people are missing that little tidbit. Nothing justifies this. Nebsy Websy says, not the arsehole, they are crazy, they tried to steal your dog. As long as your vet says it's good, it's fine. You may not want to talk to them for a long while and let them cool off. Phil Connor says, not the arsehole, and quotes, I then received a long unhinged barrage of text from my sister telling me she's going to sue me for all the money in the college fund, and despite the fact there was never any contract. Haha, how much money did she put into it? And OP said, absolutely none. Head Up says, not the arsehole, these are called consequences, and now your niece has learned a great lesson regarding her behaviour. Now, what would you do in that situation if you was OP and your family members just suddenly ran off with your dog? I'm assuming you would probably go no contact with them for that behaviour, but how would you deal with it? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to vote on that poll in the description for story 1. And our next story is from a throwaway account. Am I the arsehole ruining my friend's birthday party by taking back the cake I baked for her? My friend is quirky. She was never diagnosed with anything, but she is very clueless sometimes. I've had to spell things out for her a lot. A few months back, she borrowed a dress of mine. I really loved that dress. There isn't any sentimental value, but I got it when we were on vacation a few years ago. She also loved the dress and one day just transferred the money to my account and told me that she was keeping the dress. I spoke to her, but she just told me that doesn't matter as she has paid me. Her birthday was a week ago and her mum asked me to bake a big cake for her. I usually sell cakes cheap, little more than ingredients costs. On her birthday, I went over to the house with a cake like 15 minutes before the party was due to start, and then decided to talk to her mother. Like I said, sometimes my friend is really clueless sometimes, and I was hoping her mum would speak to her and get my dress back. I was very shocked when she also said that as long as I was paid, what does it matter? She told me to just move on as it was just a dress and that my friend really liked it. She told me as long as the dress was paid for, what am I complaining about? I got really pissed off and pulled out the amount she just paid me, put it on the table, picked up the cake and left. She got mad and started yelling at me that I was ruining the party. I kept walking back to my house. She kept telling me to give back the cake and that I wouldn't take it back just because I want to be petty. I just asked what she was complaining about. I'd pay back the money. My friend ended up having a cakeless 16th birthday because of this. Am I the arsehole here? Ooh, we do love a bit of petty revenge over here, don't we? I really don't understand the mentality from these people though. Imagine just getting a wallet full of money. You just go into your friend's house. Oh, I fancy your TV. I'm having that. There's 100 quid. See ya. Imagine doing that. And then just thinking, yeah, that's perfectly acceptable behavior. My word. You just cannot steal someone's stuff and expect no repercussions from it. Just simple as, really. Well, how ridiculous is that? But let's have a look at the comments below to see what they say. Victoria says, not the arsehole, obviously, but I'm dead laughing at this. They can have the, so what, it's paid for mentality, but if it comes back on them, it's petty, lol. The Wild Mongoose said, I would just get $200 in singles and go shopping in their house. I would collect the TV remote and leave $20 in its place, grab the laptop charger and leave another 40. Frames of family photos, drop another 10. Handles to their kitchen cabinets, $2 a piece. Caps on all their pens, $5. Late to the game says, not the arsehole, but you should have just stolen the dress back while at the party and Venmo'd her money back to her. Now you have no friend and no dress. Aja says, and you should say, it was not for sale, it cannot be replaced. End of discussion. She did not have a cakeless party, they just had to go to the store. Not the arsehole, you were openly disrespected and stuck up for yourself. Apart Locksmith says, petty, yes. Arsehole, yes. Justified, also yes. It wasn't the kindest and most mature thing to do, but hey, you don't let people walk over you, so respect for that. Now, how would you deal with a situation like that if one of your friends just came round, took an item of yours, and then left money and just said, yeah, I paid for this, and then think that's totally fine? How would you deal with it? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to vote on that poll in the description for story 2. And our next story is from a throwaway account. Am I the arsehole accidentally outing my niece by assuming my nephew was spying on me when it was actually her? I, 35 female, recently lost my job and had to move in with my sister and her kids. I get on well with them and they're generally no issues. However, about a week ago I started getting the feeling that I was being watched whenever I was in the bathroom or my bedroom. Yesterday I knew for sure that someone was peeping as I could see their shadow. I decided enough was enough and went to open the door. This caused them to bolt. The footsteps went in the general direction of my nephew's room. I confronted him about it. I was polite but firm with him. He denied it, of course. Things then became a bit heated. My sister and niece came to see what was happening. I told her that her son was looking at me while I was getting changed. She asked him if it was true. He again denied it and said she believed him as he doesn't lie. I told her that I saw his shadow under the door and heard him rushing away. This is when she took offence and accused me of calling her son a liar and a pervert. This is when things really kicked off. Eventually my niece blurted out that it was her. All three of us were taken back by this. Before anyone could ask what she meant by this, she sped off. My sister later called me and her son in the kitchen to where my niece came out to us all. She apologised for spying on me and promised me she would never do it again. She was clearly very embarrassed. I thanked my niece and told her I forgave her. My sister asked if I had anything I wanted to apologise for. I turned to my nephew and apologised for accusing him of creeping on me. I thought that would be that, but my sister wasn't finished. My sister told me that I owed my niece an apology as well. I asked, what for? She told me I needed to apologise for putting her daughter in a distressing position, where she was forced to come out before she was ready. I told her that was ridiculous. I had no idea she was gay. She put herself in that position by peeping on me. I acknowledged my niece did the right thing by coming forward rather than letting her brother take the blame, but I told her that I wasn't going to apologise for it either. My niece is still upset and won't make eye contact with anyone. What do you think? Am I the arsehole here? South Brian says, not the arsehole. Niece was being a creepy perv and got caught. Not your fault at all. Princessity says, not the arsehole. What? And quotes, apologise to my daughter for perving on her own aunt. And says again, apologise to my daughter for telling her the truth instead of letting you take the fall. She wouldn't have even been suspected, but her own guilt made her come clean. Babesy Girl says, not the arsehole. No one would be apologising to nephew for forcing him to come out as straight if he had been caught peeping. What the niece did was predatory and gross, and it isn't somehow less creepy because she's a lesbian. Your humble overlord says, not the arsehole, you didn't out her, and nothing about Peeping inherently makes her gay, or even questioning, she could be just nosy. I'd move out, this was a roller coaster. Malucia says, the niece's sexuality in terms of her gender preference is irrelevant. The issue here is that she's sexually fixated on a family member, and repeatedly violating their privacy. Focuses on whether she's gay really isn't the point, and maybe she isn't, but it's clearly the only aspect of this scenario her family feel comfortable discussing. Trying to turn it around on the OP is disturbing and bizarre. I think the parents should be discussing with their doctor whether they should be getting their child therapy, not demanding an apology. I have no idea how old their niece is, but if this behaviour continues, at some point it's going to be considered a crime, if it isn't already. I'm sorry that OP is stuck in this situation. Sir Harry Flashman says, not the arsehole, you did not put your niece in a distressing position. Your niece put herself in that position. Obviously she did not plan to come this way, but it's not your fault. And Robots vs Lions says, not the arsehole in the slightest. Firstly, I'm queer, I know how terrifying coming out can be, but you didn't out your niece, she outed herself. Secondly, unless she's much younger than I assume, as in under 10, I'm amazed you forgave her so easily. What she was doing is disgusting and perverted and gross invasion of your privacy and her sexuality, or struggles with it. Does not excuse that in the slightest. Since you didn't include ages, I'm not sure how old your niece is, but given the circumstances, I'm assuming she's at least in her preteens or early teens, in which case she should know exactly how wrong what she was doing was. Porn is abundant and easily accessible on the internet. She doesn't need to be a peeping Tom in order to discover her sexuality. She spied on you knowing it was wrong, and there's no justification for that. Being gay is not a clean slate for her awful and criminal behaviour. You have literally nothing to apologise for, and nothing to feel guilty about, other than false accusations against your nephew. Quite frankly, it sounds like your family is going easy on her because she came out. I knew a few other queer kids like that growing up, and they've since graduated from spying and other creepiness to straight up sexual assault, and I don't know if people being firmer with their behaviour while they were growing up would have prevented that, but it certainly couldn't have hurt. Make sure yours and your family's sympathy and support for your niece coming out doesn't overshadow how incredibly serious and disgraceful her actions were, or she could end up on a register that means she can't live near school sometime in the near future. Now, what do you guys think of this story? I mean, there's all sorts of different layers to this story that you could go down. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below, and don't forget to vote on that poll in the description for story 3. And our next story is from Am I the Arsehole Revealing Wife? Am I the arsehole for telling my wife's conservative uncle I like it when she wears revealing clothes? My wife's extended family are incredibly conservative and believe a woman should be covered up completely. Whilst her mum doesn't share these same views, there was still a lot of pressure for her to conform growing up. We got married 2 years ago, and I've been encouraging her to dress however she wants to. Her style still isn't very revealing, but she shows more skin than her family would like. E.g. she wears sleeveless tops or skirts that go slightly above her knees, and her clothes are more figure hugging now. However, she still dresses conservatively whenever she knows she's going to be around her extended family. Our country is going back into lockdown, so we decided to go out yesterday to get some necessities. Whilst we were at the supermarket, we bumped into her cousin. She decided to go home and tell everyone my wife was dressed like a word that will probably get this post removed, and her father, wife's uncle, called me to lecture me about it. He essentially told me as her husband I shouldn't want other men to look at my wife dressed like that, and I should tell her to cover up more. I told him I liked when she wore revealing clothes, and I was going to see if she'd wear a miniskirt for me. He hung up on me after that. He since told the rest of the family that I'm a pervert and a disrespectful shit. The only reason I think I maybe went too far is because my wife is pretty mortified, and my mother-in-law told me I should have just corrected him without stooping to his level. Am I the arsehole? You know, as a full-grown woman, she should be able to wear exactly what she wants to in her life. If she wants to do that, you know, absolutely go for it. And in my opinion, and this is my opinion, her father is 100% wrong. But the problem is that when he phoned you, you turned around and you said, I was going to see if she'd wear a mini skirt for me. Which I was like, oh God, dude, come on, man. You know, you sort of just ran straight into what your uncle believes in by saying that she's trying to be like sexually provocative, that she's trying to get attention by dressing that way. Well, you could have just cut him off straight away and just said, look, she's a full-grown adult, she can dress how she likes, and just left it at that. You didn't need to go no further and say, I'd like her to wear a miniskirt, because, you know, you're just compounding what he says, which is wrong beliefs anyway. So in my opinion, it's an everyone sucks here, them more than you, but, you know, you still do get a bit of that. And let's have a look at the comments below. Crab with a Gun says everyone sucks here, except the wife of course. Instead of framing it as you would allow her to wear specific clothes for your gratification, you should have just said she's an adult and can wear whatever makes her feel comfortable. The way you approach the interaction makes you look just as sexist and misogynistic, just coming at it from a slightly different direction. Not to mention it's your wife that's having to deal with the majority of the fallout from your deliberate antagonization. Peaceful Silence says, everyone sucks here, no one should act like the clothing police. However, your miniskirt snarky reply is just going to make things harder for your wife. You have to keep that in mind, your wife isn't a pawn piece for you to go to war with against your father-in-law. Throwaway says everyone sucks here except your wife. Maybe instead of topping her family's misogyny with a weeping hot dose of your own, you could have said she's a grown woman who will wear whatever she damn well pleases. Ome says everyone sucks here, your mother-in-law is right. Instead of actually defending your wife, you just played into the same game as the uncle. You missed the point completely. A Giant Mutant Crab says, honestly, this thing pisses me off. Who are these fools to tell others what to wear? Worst off, they expect her to follow the same small-minded rules they had since you was a young girl. She's a grown woman, she can go do the groceries in a full latex Catwoman suit complete with ears and a whip, if she damn well pleases. You two are grown adults and can do whatever you want. You honestly handled it better than I would have. I would have told him off, in no uncertain words, then hung up. Neither one of you deserve this kind of toxic individuals in your life. Stay safe. And So Broke says everyone sucks here. He's obviously way out of line, but your comment was gross too. You objectified her to someone who she specifically would be sensitive about. You should follow whatever lead your wife takes when dealing with her family and their judgment of her. Now, what do you guys think of this story? How would you have handled that situation? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to vote on that poll in the description for story 4. And our next story is from Am I the Arsehole Haircut? Am I the arsehole for telling my nephew to either get a haircut or find somewhere else to stay? My nephew Andy moved in with my wife and I about 3 months ago. He came out as bisexual to his parents, and unfortunately for him it didn't go down too well. My wife, his blood aunt, was too kind to just stand by and watch her nephew struggle, so we took him in. He was great at first. He is 17, so our kids, 5 female, 8 male and 10 male, took to him instantly and saw him as their cool cousin. He is great with kids and has no issue babysitting them for us. I can't really complain about the boy's behaviour. He's polite, kind, and just generally a nice boy. Everything was absolutely fine for the first month, but after a while, my middle son started acting up. Andy has very long, often dyed hair, around waist length. Our 8-year-old started asking if he was allowed to have hair like his cousins. He would complain constantly that he didn't have cool hair, and whenever we told him he can't grow his hair out at the minute, he'd have a complete tantrum. He's 8, not a baby. Andy and our 10-year-old were the only two that could calm him down from these tantrums, as he didn't want to speak to us. We were the ones that told him no after all. He, like other kids, goes to a private school, and whilst long hair isn't against any rules, it is frowned upon, as they don't think it looks very smart. Anyway, this continued for a long while, until a couple of days ago. My 8-year-old all but strutted into the room and told us he can have his hair however he wants when he's bigger, and there's nothing his stupid mum and dad can do about it. When I asked him where he got that idea from, he said Andy told him. I spoke to Andy, and though I know he didn't say the stupid mum and dad part, he admitted that he told his cousin that when he was older he'd be able to do whatever he wants with his hair. Which is fine, he can have long hair when he's older if he wants, but our 8-year-old started telling us all of the things he can do when he's older, and how we can't do anything about it. Just generally quite an attitude. I do blame Andy for this. He should have just told him that he couldn't have long hair. It all came to a head yesterday when I snapped at Andy when he was brushing out his hair, and again comments from our son about how jealous he was of his hair. I was sick of all the hair talk, so I yelled at my nephew and told him he could either get his hair cut to a normal length or he could find somewhere else to stay. I was sick of my son acting like a jealous little girl. No kid should be that fixated on hair, for God's sake. My wife and I had a fight. She thinks I was completely in the wrong. Andy hasn't spoken to me at all. He didn't even argue back. That's what makes me regret my outburst a bit. He looks so sad. I didn't mean it, and if he tries to speak to me I will apologise sincerely. But I do think the silent treatment is a bit over the top. He knows I wouldn't try to hurt him on purpose. Am I the arsehole? That last paragraph. It makes you regret your outburst and he looks sad. And if he speaks to you, you will apologise. Just go up to him and apologise, man. Jesus. Andy clearly likes his hair where it is, and if his waist length, that's taken some time to grow, and he clearly looks after it if he's brushing it. He clearly cares about his hair quite a lot, and you're telling him he has to cut it, or you're going to kick him out. I mean, come on, man. You said yourself, the guy is a nice, kind, polite individual, does babysitting for you, and, you're giving him this shit over his hair. Don't get me started. And Andy was totally right. When he's older, he can do what he wants with his hair. He's totally right. And you're claiming he hasn't got normal hair because it's longer, and your 8-year-old is just looking up to him and, clearly loves him a lot. And sounds like he's just going through a bit of a phase. I might be wrong in saying that. Instead of blaming Andy, just sort your parenting out. It's that simple, really. Yes, you're the arsehole. Let's have a look at the comments below. To be fair, when I was younger, I did think about long hair. Just mainly because, the shampoo adverts about swishing your hair around. Yes, I'm actually swishing my hair right now. Let's have a look at the comments below to see what they say. Lowbank says, and quotes, I was sick of all the hair talk, so I yelled at my nephew and told him he could either get his hair cut to a normal length or he could find somewhere else to stay. I was sick of my son acting like a jealous little girl. Then says, you're the arsehole both for the ridiculous demand that your nephew cut his hair or find a new place to live, and for talking about your son like that and using little girl as a bad thing. Get therapy, dude. You need it. Advate says, you're the arsehole. Your son is going through a phase. Calm down. You can't force someone to cut their hair. Prairie Chick says, you're the arsehole. This kid was just kicked out by his family for what he is, and you threaten to do the same over how he looks. And he's a kid. Don't wait for him to talk to you. Make the apology. Howard Project says, you're the arsehole. Your 8-year-old is throwing a constant tantrums, and the only ones who can calm him down are a 17-year-old guest and your 10-year-old. Dude, be a parent. You're teaching him that instead of drawing a line, you will literally try to rearrange the world to avoid disciplining your kid. What the fuck? Spicy Must Flow says, you're the arsehole. You've already said that your nephew is a nice, kind boy. The problem here isn't him or his hair, it's your son. And to be frank, it's your parenting. By insisting Andy cut his hair to a normal length, you're demonstrating that conformity trumps autonomy. You're taking away not just part of his personal style, but also agency over his own body. You're showing your son that might makes right. Instead of teaching your child how to be a better person, you're taking the lazy way out by essentially bullying your nephew. You are punishing Andy instead of parenting your kid. You're absolutely the arsehole here. Tater says, dude, your 8-year-old had a tantrum about hair, so you, a grown-ass man, responded by having a tantrum about hair. You're the arsehole. Grow the fuck up and parent. Sci-Fi Emma says, you're the arsehole. No adult should be that fixated on the hair either. You're teaching your child they must conform to your standards to be worthy of love. And Wisteria says, you're definitely the arsehole. Men have had long hair since the dawn of time. There is nothing wrong with men or boys having long hair. I'm not sure why some men are so offended by it. You tell us all, please. Why are you offended by long hair? And OP replied, I'm not offended by long hair. I just don't want my son to grow his hair out now. All of his friends have short hair. Andy does suit his long hair. Plus, if he has a panic attack, my wife will braid his hair to help calm him down. So it's not a bad thing. Yes, but you just told him to cut his hair off, so you've just taken away one of his coping mechanisms. God, it gets worse. What do you guys think of this story? What do you think should happen in this situation? Well, we know OP should just be a better parent, but what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to vote on that poll in the description for Story 5. Once again, guys, thank you for being here today. I hope you have enjoyed today's stories, and if you have, please consider hitting that like, that subscribe, and maybe that notification bell too. You've been absolutely amazing just recently, guys. I can't thank you enough for what you're doing for me, and I will see you in the next one. Take care, guys. Much love. Waffle Gang.